So yeah, this graphic that you see on the title slide is an exclusive one. You're not going to find it anywhere else in the planet. Why? Anyone know? Well, I used ChatGPT to generate it. And I used the prompt. Here's a prompt I used. I said, hey, ChatGPT, design a graphic of a worker being surprised by an OSHA inspection. This is what it generated. It's pretty funny. Like, oh no, violations. Where are my training records? It's all negative. And I'm thinking, ChatGPT, you're not helping the cause. OSHA, yeah, they got a job to do. Don't get me wrong, but they're not always the bad guys. I'm gonna try to change that mindset here. They have outreach efforts. They have tons of resources, and they're federally funded, so they're gonna have tons of resources that can help us out and kind of lead us to the right direction. And which is what the origin of today's talking point is why are these usual suspects making the year every single year? And by the way, if these topics are on OSHA's top 10 most cited violations, well, then heck, that's our cheat code, isn't it? Like that should be our template, our starting point, right? Of what programs to focus on first is what I would say. That way, you know that if it's on OSHA's radar and if it's low hanging fruit, in other words, if it's easy to pick for them, it should be polished for you as well at your neck of the woods, right? So just a little thing there with this graphic, it's all negative, negative, negative. So we're going to try to change that mindset. Corey, thank you so much. We went ahead and provided that handout that Corey just offered everyone in the chat menu. So if you want a corresponding document to follow along, you're going to get this exact presentation, 2 slides per page. Thank you, Corey, for doing that. Okay, these are our talking points. I'm hoping to get through it all. We'll see. We'll see. We got the latest numbers. Summer 2024, summer 2025. So we'll see where we go with that. Yeah. So this is our introduction slide, right? We're going to talk about OSHA's top 10 most cited violations, but honestly, I'm going to highlight like the top 3 or 4 or 5 usual like the top culprits of what OSHA's citing employers in both general and construction industry under that said code of reference there or code of federal regulation. Here's the deal. You can have a polished, in California here, it's called IIPP. You can have a polished, super progressive safety culture. You have the nice written programs. You got everyone going all cohesive and it's perfect. But you know what? At the end of the day, you can't beat Darwinism. What I mean by that is that the human factor we come into play, and I say this often in all my classes is that my class that I'll be presenting in front of all my students is it's not applicable to you on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Why? Because most accidents are going to happen on Mondays and Fridays. Why? Because yeah, Mondays we're recovering from that weekend, and Fridays we're looking forward to it. So it's all behavioral based. So my point in this GIF that I added is that you can have a really, really good safety program, safety culture, but it should somewhere down the line, it should incorporate some behavioral based training. Why are we doing this? Why am I operating a forklift, which on average weighs about 10,000 pounds, man, when I'm not feeling my best? And that's a Monday and Friday self, right? So is the audio good, Corey? Do I sound okay?
Yes, you sound fine to me.
All right, Sandeep, I think it might be a local issue there with your audio, okay? Just a heads up on that. All right, perfect. Let's move on. This one's a really cool video. We actually did a webinar 2 years ago, and we actually had the directorate of OSHA be the presenter. His name is Timothy Irving, and he has a backstory behind the OSHA logo. So let's go back a couple slides, and I want us to change our mindset. OSHA, they're here to help us. They really are. In fact, if you really, really feel good about your pristine safety culture and safety program, you can actually volunteer OSHA to stop by and say, hey, OSHA, I'm not intimidated by you. Why don't you stop by? And if you pass the test, you have this nice little award that's heavily marketable. Looks good for your X-Mod insurance premiums. And then you're also exempt for 2 years on programmed inspections. So that's a heck of a selling point, isn't it? So you can volunteer OSHA to come out and have them, evaluate and review your facility if you feel like confident in it. But this video is pretty cool because I didn't know the story behind the OSHA logo. And hopefully it'll change your mindset on OSHA aren't necessarily the bad cops. Hope you enjoy it.
We accomplished this mission with a three-pronged balanced approach and with strong, fair, and effective enforcement by setting clear standards and by providing compliance assistance to help employers understand their responsibilities. When we use all three of these tools together, we're hoping to meet our mission and reach our goals and objectives. And when we don't have enforcement jurisdiction or standards, we do rely on our outreach network and compliance assistance efforts.
So I get the who knew, right, about the little shapes within the O and OSHA. They have a deeper meaning to their mission statement. But I get enforcement has that negative connotation, right? Like, okay, enforcement means dollars, means citations. I get it. But they also have standards and guidance that keep us all in line. We can't per se work in an environment that's like the wild, wild west. I get it. And I know politically, OSHA's being challenged right now. I get that. But they also have cooperative and state programs. So if I look at this OSHA logo, am I looking at just negative energy? No, I'm not. And thanks to this little quick video we added, it's actually there to help us. And if we don't look for the positivity in things, we're not going to find it. And I was glad to see this logo explanation, this breakdown of the deeper meaning behind the OSHA logo. Who knew? Did anyone know? If you want to chime in on that chat menu, who knew about that story? Didn't know about it. So I wanted to share that with you. It's kind of cool. Okay, so the crux, right? The meat and potatoes. Yeah. So this is it. We're here. It's fiscal year 2025, right? From the timeline of October 1st, 2024, all the way down to September 30th, 2025. I will say these numbers are preliminary, but they're still pretty accurate. They're preliminary because OSHA hasn't published them yet officially on their website. So we got these numbers through different credible sources, through the National Safety Committee or Council, and through other sources too, through networking events. And they're pretty consistent. But obviously, as you know, legal counsel and when you get cited, you're going to fight it, right? Cite it, fight it, and you're gonna appeal it, and that's a litigious process. And sometimes those numbers swing go down a little bit, and they're not as accurate. But for the most part, they will stay the same. Okay, just as a little disclaimer there. But again, it's the usual suspects. It's been this way for so many years. Like give or take a couple notches in here, subtle movements, but for the most part, fall protection lands it on the list twice. And they've been there for quite some time. I think for the 15th year in a row, fall protection general is number one. So it's not going to go anywhere. Why? Because well, I'll show you. I'll show you a visual reminder. And it's the industry that's really affected by this is framing, as you can imagine. So here in California, we had a recent regulatory update on that. We're now following the 6-foot rule. Depends on the slopes, but yeah, we just had that memo come out on that. So if you scan the QR code, it'll take you to, I believe, our landing page with some more information and even an opportunity to kind of download this infographic. All right, here we go. Now, since I've been in this industry that we call safety, or this career that I'm in, I've never seen the max penalty amounts stay frozen for consecutive years. And I could only assume it's because OSHA is being challenged right now, right? We all know the OSHA Act. If you don't know about it, Google it, come up with your own conclusions there. But yeah, this hasn't changed. Typically, this time around 2 months ago, the numbers would have gone up a little bit. They never go down. If you get cited, there's no promo code, OSHA 10 for a 10% discount. You can't do that. It's just it's there and it's in your face, and it's a reminder that hey, if I get cited, you want to avoid the willful one repeated for sure. That's an expensive one. But the other one that can be a potential for a really very hefty price tag is a failure to abate for every passing day afterwards. So the way it works is OSHA will stop by and say, hey, I'm OSHA. Here's what we found. I'll give you 30, 60 days, whatever the time frame is to fix it. They come back, it's not fixed. It's $16,000 every passing day. It's not fixed. So that can become costly for sure. But the more substantial one is the one at the bottom, the willful and repeated. So yeah, if you want to chime in on the chat menu, there's a difference between the definition of serious versus willful. If anyone wants to chime in on that, they're almost similar, but the willful one is hey, I know about the penalty, but you know what? I'm good. Let's sweep it under the rug. You know, OSHA's not going to come by. We're good. Hey, snitches get stitches. Hey, rats get bats. That's what's willful. But the serious one is, they both have the high probability of significant injury, if not death, and the employer knew or should have known about it, which is the definition of serious. Willful is the same, but the employer had deliberate ill intent, malice intent without getting OSHA involved. So that one, actually, there is liability there. And in fact, employee liability for prison time there as well. And I'm sure you've read your fair share of case studies there. Yeah, it's not the one you want to play with, any of them for that matter. This one's the federal max penalty amount. Again, they haven't changed. So am I saying now is the time to get penalized? No, I'm not. I'm just letting you know that, hey, it hasn't changed for the last 2 years, which is really weird. So there we go. Take advantage of it? No, don't take advantage of it. That's not what I'm saying. We are in the state of California. I know some of you may have, yeah, Brad. Hey, Brad, welcome. I know some of us may be logging in from out of the state. But I need to share that if you are in a state that has your own state plan, obviously you're going to have your own top 10 most cited violations, which is more applicable to your hazards in your unique workplaces and your state. Well, Cal OSHA, we have ours, but again, they haven't been updated. The last one that we have is calendar year 2024. So I wanted to throw this one in, even though this webinar is more at the federal approach. I think it's important for you to know locally, if you are also in California, to go ahead and scan that QR code and just stay on top of it. That's going to take you directly to the industrial relations page there. And if they're going to update it, it's going to be updated there. Okay, so just a heads up. All right. And yeah, almost the same. I want to go back a couple. So this is California's max penalty amounts. This is Fed, almost similar, right? But the big distinction here is look at serious and federal. Federal, the very first box is serious at 16,000. California, we're not messing around. We're at 25 Gs. So that's the biggest distinction there in serious. All the rest of them are off by a couple thousand, right? So yeah, I don't understand why. Maybe it's just it's a California thing, but we're a little more expensive with that regard in that serious violation. And remember that the definition of a serious citation or violation is the high probability of serious injury and or death, and your employer knew or should have known about it. So that's the definition of a serious violation there. All right. Latest numbers just came out last month. Yeah, last month. So they came out, and the trend is going upwards, not going downwards. So there is some good news there. So as the slide tells you, we're dropping down in high probability of injuries, right? So total of 5,070. Again, let me preface by letting you know that it is in 2024 the latest numbers. But it says here a total of 5,070 fatal work injuries in 2024, down 4% from the previous year. Employers reported 2.5 million injury and illnesses cases in 2024, down by 3.1% from the previous year. So that's good news. There's still high numbers. I get it, but we're heading towards the right direction there. I know. I see the wheels are turning. Okay, Eric, I want some more stats on this. Like, hey, where are the characteristics? Which industry is more affected? Which specific task hazard? You want that answered here. And again, this came out last month. So I believe it says there February 19th. So it's fresh, right? So I would encourage you, if there was ever a download from this presentation of this webinar, this is it. Go ahead and scan that QR code. It's going to take you there. I have it here in front of me. I printed it out. And it does talk about, of course, transportation is always a leading cause of fatality for workplace incidents. But it does talk about other things like, worker characteristics. It does talk about other good stuff. And it even talks about Technical notes. Where is the origin of these numbers? Is it just our OSHA 300 log entries? No, it's more. So they do talk about all that in this report. It's only 7 pages. It's not that intimidating to open, but it really has good data. Okay, so this is where the numbers are coming from. All right, the origin, the inception. This one comes courtesy to Safety and Health. I found this on their website here, and this is a list of the top 10 cited standards that are quote unquote serious, right? And again, there's no surprise. It's fall protection number one, right? Tops it. But ladders, why are there so many serious issues with ladders? We're going to talk about specifics on what's going on. We should know better by now. This list has been around for some time, right? So we talk about scaffolding or lack thereof, or I kid you not, out of all the topics on this slide here, the one that really impresses me as far as our inner engineers coming out is the scaffolding that we're erecting out of improvised things that we see in front of us. And like I say, improvisation should only be left in the comedy club. So all this stuff is there. So it's good information for you to know that OSHA does have its own table and statistics on serious, and then obviously it's conversely speaking, it's willful. So again, fall protection, mainly framing. Willful is, hey, we know about it. Oh God, I hope OSHA doesn't stop by. And because I know, but I hope they don't stop by. Okay, so just a heads up on that. Lockout, tag out, energy control. Yeah, hazardous energy control. Energy can't just always be electrical, right? It's pneumatic, steam, gravitational. Excavations, man. Excavation's a big deal in California. In fact, it holds the highest citation that was issued in fiscal year 2025. So I think it was at 2.3 million, I believe. A company in Connecticut is where I think I researched. They were already on. See, the thing is, they were already on OSHA's radar for a cave-in fatality back in 2023. So if you're on OSHA's radar, come on. I mean, you got to step it up and not be a repeat offender. And you got to silica shouldn't be here. We should already know. But there are only 7. I get it, but 1 is just way too many. Okay, and I get it. I get it. It's just one of those deals where it's hard to sell PPE to those that either think it's too much or it's not needed. So there's a lot of talking points with silica. And again, silica is not dangerous. It's when it's respirable. That's when it becomes deadly. Yeah, that is asbestos. You don't want that stuff in your system. Yeah, and the OSHA Act, as we know, this is OSHA's way of saying, hey, if we don't have a specific standard that covers a specific hazard, guess what? Gotcha. We're still going to cite you on the OSHA general duty clause. So don't think you're exempt, because they can still get you. Here in California, it's called the Injury and Illness Prevention Plan. So there you go. Good stuff. Yeah. Yeah, what's a contact error? If you have some kind of alphabet behind your name, if you have some kind of a credential like, CIH, CSP, what have you, you obviously have to submit your contact hours ever so often to maintain that cert. That was a question in the chat menu there. Yeah, and these are the cumulative proposed penalties. Again, these are going to change because the appeal process, right? So, but look at that, 48 million bucks just on the duty to provide fall protection, which means they weren't even issued. And any safety experts in the room would understand what I'm doing here. The upside down pyramid, right? So the upside down pyramid is what? The hierarchy of hazard control. And guess where PPE lands? At the very top? No, we know this. It's the very bottom of that bottom upside down pyramid, saying, in other words, it's the last line of defense. Your employer couldn't eliminate the hazard, couldn't substitute it, couldn't add engineering controls, couldn't do admin controls, and then it's the PPE. Hey, here's a fall protection harness. I hope you wear it correctly or don it correctly. And that's not even done. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. We got to follow the 6-foot rule there. So, yeah, it's a lot of money, but it's full transparency, which is great here. It's horrible for your employer and the brand, isn't it? Can you imagine being cited for, let's just say, 100 grand or whatever, and you're trying to focus on employee retention, and now your employers are looking you up on OSHA? Timeout. Wait, timeout. Time out. Wait, I don't think I want to work for this company if they have 5 citations in the last 3 years, right? It's almost like your credit score. It's almost like just a bad review on Yelp. You know what I mean? You don't want that. It's bad for the brand, and you can't hide it, right? So just a heads up, it's out there. At that, what you're hoping for is you're hoping it gets buried. It gets buried, down there. So yeah, it is what it is. Okay, let's go down the top 10. Okay, well, I know I got about 30 minutes here, but or 20 minutes or 26 minutes, what have you. But let's go down the list. So we're gonna start at 10. Okay, now it is at machine guarding's number 10. Last year, if you see here, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. You'll see here that fiscal year 2024, there it was ranked at the same spot, right? But yeah, we stayed there at number 10, but we actually technically got better because the citation amount got lower. Kind of cool. All right, that's kind of cool. I'm hoping in this gentleman's case that this paper shredder has been de-energized. I'm hoping. Yeah, because if it isn't, that's a good candidate for that Darwinism, next Darwinism GIF that we're going to use. We don't want to go in there. We're talking a lot of issues there. Um, so you want to lock out, hazardous energy, and there's an entire ECP written program requirement. But I will state in my notes here, it says the number 1 citation under this number 10 spot is types of guarding. So the machine needs to be guarded before you lock out, tag out, right? So it's not even guarded. Where's the gate in the front of it, right? So there's no guarding. 1 or more methods of machine guarding shall be provided to protect the operator and other employees in the machine area from hazards such as those created by point of operation, ingoing nip points, rotating parts, flying chips, and sparks. 858 violations were issued on that one. By the way, the regulation reference is 1910.212 A1, which means it's the very first paragraph, and it's stackable. So you can be cited on multiple things in one regulation. So right at the top, you just got to open up the regulation and say, oh, there it is, A1. And it goes down the list. Point of operation, where the task is being performed or the cut, that little section's not being guarded as well. So it goes on and on. So again, you want to guard your area, and typically machine guarding or equipment guarding or safeguarding is synonymous with lockout tagout, which by the way is another standalone number here in this list. All right, so just a heads up. Yikes. But let me show you here. Here's the way I package this webinar. I'm going to show you a fail, a safety fail, which in this case, this is a safety fail. I don't see any machine guards here. And then I'm going to show you the opposite in contrast of what good machine guarding looks like. That way it's not just all comic relief. Oh yeah, this one's nice, isn't it? So robotics is a thing now. I mean, it's been around for quite some time. It'll be a heck of a task, wouldn't it, to put a machine guard around certain sections of an always moving arm? You can't do it. There's no way around it. So what you got to do is you got to guard the whole area and put a fence around it. But Eric, my robotic arm didn't come with it. Am I exempt? Nope, not exempt. You can actually have it fabricated as a third party add-on. It doesn't have to be originally provided with the robotics or the robotic arm. So there's no excuses there. You can have someone go in there, do a system assessment, which we offer, and we can go and say, hey, we can actually add a fixed a guard or wall around this entire operation. That way no one's going inside of it. And if you want to Google robotic fails, the video market is saturated. So there's a lot of issues with this operation already. So I love this example, how it's completely guarded. It's not blended in. It's a yellow structure with black guards. I love that. It stands out. So I love this image. Okay. So this is how it should be done. So if you can poke your finger in it or your arm and it's still energized, there's an opportunity for you to guard it. Period. That's the way I see it. Oh, geez. Yeah, so eye and face protection, again, last year's fiscal year 2024, the ranking was 9. We're still there, but again, the numbers are dropping. We're at 1665. Fiscal year 2024, we're at 1,814. So some positivity there. But this standard will say, hey, we have to, if you're in a line of work that has the potential of hazards entering this area. It can be a physical spark or even biological, blood in your mucous membranes, things like that. You got to cover it. And people go, I got you, Eric. I'm gonna put on some splash guards or splash goggles. I'm good. Sweet, that's a great idea, but let's do more. Let's do more. Like right here, in this case, this guy's he's holding a Corona beer bottle, and while welding, and I mean, A+ for dual purpose on the bottle. I guess I'm assuming he drank it, but listen, that's still not good eye and face protection. I can only assume that the Corona bottle out of glass, first of all, doesn't have an ANSI stamp on it, so it's not the proper eye and face protection, right? I mean, listen, it may not be his fault. With all jokes aside, I mean, this may be a reflection of bad upper management. Maybe give the gentleman the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's a new employee and he doesn't know what he's doing. He's not properly trained, never read the written program, and yeah, lack of awareness, which is aligned with training. So we're only as good as what we know, right? Our knowledge base. So maybe that's what it is, right? I don't know. But again, this is the bad. Right? This is the bad. Here's the good. Now, obviously, this isn't a welding mask. He's welding, so you would need a sophisticated welder's mask. But in this case, I don't see these often. The full frame face shield design, Honeywell makes some, Uvex makes some. I never see them out there. You know why? Because no one wants to wear them. Oh, it fogs up, Eric. It gets too hot. Excuses. I say this every time. Safety's biggest nemesis is convenience. Oh, the glove doesn't fit me. I can't feel it. So then you take it off and not replace it with a better glove that offers you better dexterity? No, we just take it off and press for luck. We're just going to see what happens here. So these full frame face shields are phenomenal. And the technology is getting better and better. Some of these have anti-fog designs. This one's lightweight, ratcheting headgear, anti-fog, anti-scratch. So the fog stuff is out the window. Don't even try me with that. We're good there. What else? So does a face shield replace the eye protection? Absolutely not. But it's a great added layer. So why not? It's too heavy. I mean, all I'm hearing is, it's funny. I recently taught an OSHA 10-hour class, and one of the topics was foot protection, and I always ask them, anyone ever wear the metatarsal protection work boots? And one guy in the classroom raised his hand, and I said, I know why you're wearing it. He laughs at me. And I said, it's because you broke your metatarsal bones one point, right? He goes, yeah. So it's funny how we don't like certain things because they're heavier, or perhaps they're heavier in the price tag, until we experience pain. It's funny. Budget is completely moot when we're reacting to a significant injury or work comp or death. We went from, oh, it's too expensive, to how many do we need? So we're in a career of prevention. And I'm sorry to say it, all these regulations are written in blood. They're never proactive, by the way. So it's hard for us to send this message. I'm sure I speak on behalf of this webinar that we're all trying our hardest to push for preventative measures, but it's often frowned upon, isn't it? Hey, we found the bottom of the ocean, which is the bottom of the iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is an easy answer for accident investigation, isn't it? But if you keep asking why, you're going to find the bottom of the ocean, which is this giant iceberg, which is a representation of the root cause analysis, right? So we found a better solution, perhaps the top of the upside down pyramid. It's elimination. We've given you the answer, and you're rejecting it. Really? Okay. We're going to keep pressing our luck. No whammy. Stop. Until we hit that whammy, right? And all of a sudden we got that budget. Yeah, we got to work in proactive measures. Let's try to change that narrative. And I promise you, I know it's going to suck in the onset of investing here, investing there, but I promise you, it's a more progressive safety culture. It really is. And these are awesome. I got some more to tell you, by the way. I got some more to show you as well. Some better technology out there. I did some digging. I found some good stuff here. Yeah, why are forklifts still making? By the way, forklifts are the only thing with wheels on this OSHA top 10 most cited violations. Why? Because we get overconfident. These things are fun to operate, and they cross over to different industries. Obviously, class 1 through 6 is general industry, and then class 7 is rough terrain, which walks into that construction industry. So maybe that's the reason why, but I am a forklift operator and I love operating these things. They're so much fun. But this always makes the list. This right here is example of it. You can't use a forklift outside its original design. It's not a dump truck. It's a forklift. I mean, I grant it to their defense, they're actually lifting someone here. So I guess they are technically using the forklift to lift this and the person. Okay. But this is horrible. There's only one person allowed in a forklift, you know this, unless they have a approved man cage, which I'm still not a fan of. But yeah, this is bad. This is bad. Ergonomically horrible. If he falls down, this is above 6 feet. Done deal. If we fall down, by the way, we're gonna fall comfortably on our butt, which is what we want. Nope, we're gonna fall on our head. That's what's gonna happen. Now you're gonna be down for the count there. This is horrible. What are we doing? That's a huge no-no. We can't do this. Right? So okay, let's look at numbers here. Last year in 2024 or the fiscal year, we were ranked number 6. Now we're ranked number 8. Okay, so it's getting better. We're dropping down that list, and the numbers are getting lower. So we're good. So it's at 1,826 versus its counterpart year at 2,248. Nice. We're in the right direction. We're in the right direction. But come on, we can't be doing this. We can't be doing. And guess what happens in this scenario? They're going to get away with it. Right? Nothing happens. Lifts down. Sweet. So now what's going to happen next time? They're going to do the same exact thing until they're not as lucky and Murphy's Law shows its face. Again, we're in the line of preventative measures, not we're hoping for the best. We're going to know it's for the best. And that is a collaborative effort. It can't be led by your safety committee or your safety pros. It's a family venture, and it has to be a uniform movement. It just can't be led by 2 or 3 or 6 people. I'm telling you, this is what I see. This is not rocket science. Technically, the OSHA 10 was for a company called CryoWorks, which is technically rocket science, but it isn't. If you follow your gut, you're with us. That's what safety is. We're being denied, man. Budget, whatever the reason is. I don't know. So, in contrast, I can only assume these guys weren't certified operators. I don't know. That's the premise of this OSHA regulation, by the way. But you know what? Horseplay is the top contender here. Refresher level training in forklifts is another one. 223 violations, things like that. Listen, the list goes on and on of the usual suspects. No training program implemented. So it means that there was none at all in forklift operation, right? So no proper inspection was another one at 134. So there you go. It's a whole bunch of reasons why OSHA has forklifts or PITs, powered industrial trucks, in the radar. But let me show you something cool though. You've seen these, right, at your local Lowe's or Home Depot, perhaps, or maybe at your warehouse, you already have these. Phenomenal. I like it. It's the red and blue forklift safety lighting. You can get them on Amazon. You see them all over the place. It's a lighting safety measure. So that way we wake up the walking zombies who are doing this. Oh yeah, there you go. There's the forklift in front of me, right? But it's not the best one. This is a good start. Because if I walk in front of that light, I'm still walking in front of that light. It's not going to physically stop me. Now, what's going to physically stop me? Nothing. What's going to physically stop the forklift? Yeah, there is technology. It's called a proximity sensor. And again, Eric, it's too expensive. Cool. I gave you the answer. I'm going to walk away now. It's not expensive until someone's ran over by a forklift, isn't it? So the proximity sensor, once installed, it governs the forklift to stop when it recognizes movement behind it, in front of it. Similar to what our cars can do when we have a backup camera and a front forward camera on some of the other cars. Why not have the same safety features on forklifts? We have it. There's front forward facing cameras. There's backup cameras, which, by the way, the biggest blind spots on forklifts is the counterweight right here. Oh, by the way, and the other blind spot is right here. So why not put cameras there? Maybe it's just too much of a simple concept. I don't know. So yeah, there's technology out there. And this new technology incorporates AI. So again, maybe we just got to, I don't know, hope for the best. Scaffold. I told you this is A+ for ingenuity. So yeah, this is not proper scaffold. I think he's using a bench on top of a plank. Let me zoom in so I can truly appreciate his effort here. He's on a bench, on a plank, on 1, 2, 3, 5 benches, and on a ladder, which I don't think is a 4x1 rule. And by the way, the foundation of a ladder is on another elevated. Yeah, I mean, if he survives it, man, if he survives it, he's gonna be one lucky dude. And guess what? If he survives it unscathed, he'll do it again. So yeah, the premise of this regulation under scaffolding says OSHA requires that all scaffolds be designed by a qualified person. That doesn't qualify here in this image. Support 4 times the maximum intended load. I don't think that's the case here. And include fall protection guardrail. I don't see guardrails here. I don't even see him tethered. And I know he's above 6 feet or 10 feet in with regards to scaffold, but I look at 10 feet, and me, if I'm your supervisor, I'm asking you to go 6 feet or above, because I'm gonna go above the minimum benchmark that OSHA says. I'm gonna make that 6-foot rule universal. So none of that's happening here. This is why scaffolding is on OSHA's radar. Okay, so let me go down my notes here. Any questions, Corey? We're good. I think we're pretty good there. Yeah. At 583 violations, it's under this one, 1926.45. Okay, we're a little lower in that regulation under the G section. Okay. But one, it says each employee on a scaffold more than 10 feet above a lower level shall be protected from falling to that lower level. So there should be an OSHA compliant guardrail system. Okay. So just a heads up there. The second one at 224 violations, section C2, supported scaffold poles, legs, posts, frames, and uprights shall bear on base plates and mud side. This is why most companies that do need scaffold will put the onus and liability on the rental firm. That's why they're doing that. They go, you know what? We don't want to deal with the competent person in-house, so we're just going to have someone come out here and erect it for us, and then when we're done, they're going to come back out and dismantle it for us. That way, that the whole thing is on them, not on us. That's a common practice I'm starting to see out there, but it all depends on each facility and how the frequency level there as well. Let me show you what a really good, sophisticated scaffold system is. Yeah, remember this one? Yeah, this Big Ben, the Elizabeth Tower, it was under renovation for like 5 or 6 years. It took a hiatus because the whole COVID stuff, but it finally was renovated. It ended back in 2022, I believe, or 2023, early 2023. But now this is a legit photo. It's a sophisticated scaffold system, beautifully done. So this is the stuff that we want to see out there. We see it. I think it's more for the private sectors. I just need to do a quick job. Anything with urgency, that's when the usual suspect, when the devil wants to play in his playground. But this stuff obviously it's a landmark, so you want to make sure you have your stuff in line. Like the Statue of Liberty, when it did renovation too, we had a sophisticated scaffold system around that. So when you're on the world's microscope, you're gonna want to make sure your everything's dotted and crossed. So there you go. Yeah, fall protection training requirements. You got to show proof of training. You got to be trained by a competent person. That's the thing that OSHA is finding people on, is that they're given proof of training, but the person who trained them, it's like the blind leading the blind. That person isn't deemed competent. So we have to be trained by the good people, the people that have the knowledge base and work experience, who have been delegated that competent person by their employer. You got to be careful with that, because a competent person is actually referenced in the fall protection regulation, because their responsibilities is to inspect the fall protection twice a year. So that's why OSHA specifically defines a competent person as one with knowledge base who can catch hazards and, more importantly, do something about the hazards. In this case, this person, again, may not be his fault, but this person wasn't properly trained because the anchorage point is on the ladder. And by the way, let me zoom in so I can appreciate this photo again. This anchorage is a knot. There's not even an anchor point on the ladder, which there shouldn't be, by the way, unless the ladder's fixed. So if he were to fall, the ladder's coming down with him. right? I know this is a beam, a high beam, right? I think it's a high beam, so there wouldn't be guardrail, but yeah, things like that. Like he doesn't know any better. Okay, it is at the D. It looks initially when I first saw it, I thought it was at the waist level, but it is at the D ring on the shoulder blade. But still, this is bad anchorage. The anchorage should be engineered or fixed, and it should maintain 5,000 pounds. So when he falls down, he's falling down. It's not gonna that ladder is not fixed. It's an extension ladder. It's gonna go down with him. So just be careful on that. Your fall protection equipment or your fall arrest system is only as good as your anchorage. Period. So just be careful with that. And then you got to factor in the fall clearance too. Simple math, not too complicated. But let me show you a really cool example of what effective training looks like. Right? This is an effective training. You're not just doing PowerPoint lecture, you're doing hands-on. And with fall protection, you absolutely have to do hands-on. This is called a competent person level class, by the way. And now what they're doing is this guy's actually being rescued, which is often ignored. Yeah, I'll show you what a harness is and the yo-yos and the but everything else is good. But we don't talk about what if I do fall? What happens? How am I being dropped back down to the ground or safely rescued within that critical time window, right? What is it, 10 to 15 minutes before you start to blood clot in that groin area? So that's why they're really fighting for those rescue straps that can take you from here, to here. That way you're no longer blood clotting and you're resting and you're chilling. You're admiring the view versus you're here and now you're starting to blank out because now you have that blood clotting is not going to go straight to your brain. So you got to be careful. You got about 15 minutes before you start to experience the trauma, suspension trauma, I think is what they call it. And then you're going to die. So some of these sophisticated fall arrest systems and the harness itself has a strap you pull and it'll drop you down again, or it'll pull you back up. It's out there. Oh no. We've given you the answer. We're just relying on luck. So some have self-rescue because sometimes they'll go, oh yeah, we're good. We're near the firefighting station. The firehouse is right here. Don't count on that because sometimes these fire stations, they don't have a trained brigade. They're not trained to come out there and do that. So it's always best to do an in-house or train an in-house team to be that rescue team for you. Because that way that 10-minute window is now looking 5 minutes versus you waiting, hoping that there's no other, the firefighters aren't being used elsewhere. So this is great. This is a great example of how to rescue someone using some kind of pull system and pull him up. And he's on a yo-yo. You see the yo-yo up there? This is phenomenal. But you got to incorporate this. He has to experience what this feels like, right? He has to experience this. This is what's effective training by a competent person. Absolutely. Well done here. Oh boy. I wish these photos were staged, guys. They're not staged. All the photos that I've used, I've dug deep and I found the source. They're not staged. Silica. He's cutting cement pipe. Asbestos. It looks like a fairly new one, but now you're dealing with silica. So now, again, silica isn't dangerous, but once it becomes airborne and respirable, it's deadly. So he has no mask around his face. None. And there's no engineering control. There's no water suppression, no HEPA filter. So this is all that stuff has entered his system. And unfortunately, these illnesses are chronic. He won't know he has mesothelioma or asbestosis or silicosis maybe 20, 30 years down the road. It's just one of those deals. I use 9/11 as an example. We lost roughly 3,000 people that day, but the greater number is 6,000 plus of all those first responders and people that were covered in that smoke when the towers came down. And guess what the smoke had? Asbestos. And they call it the WTC cough. So people are dying from it still because now they're experiencing it. And the biggest advocate for that movement was the late the political comedian Jon Stewart. So yeah, so that's an issue. 6,000 plus people died from that. Yeah. So this is an issue. You have to, and believe it or not, OSHA says you don't have to don respiratory protection, tight fitting respirators, if you have effective engineering controls. Guess what I'm gonna do? As a supervisor, I'm gonna go, I hear you, OSHA, but I'm still gonna have you wear it. You know why? Because I love the JIC approach, which is just in case. It's gonna suck and you're gonna hate me. Eric, really? You're gonna force me to wear a half-face mask, even though we have water suppression at the source? You're gonna, yep. You know why? Because I care about you and I want you to go back home safely. Yeah. That upside down pyramid, by the way, is not just a single source fix. You can add layers to it. You can add PPE on top of your engineering controls. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. Go figure, right? We can add more to it. Yeah. I love that. Sweet. So we got to do better here. Yeah. A lot of things happening here. Again, as last year's webinar, I'll say it again. The biggest culprit here is, anyone guess? Anyone want to type it in? What's the number one reason why OSHA is citing people on respiratory protection? Anyone want to chime in on the chat, man? Y'all wait a couple minutes. I know it's 50. I got Corey. I got the 10-minute mark. No, you're close. You're close, Caesar. Not a bad answer. Caesar goes, you can't walk in your fit test looking like Forrest Gump. It is an issue. Don't get me wrong, it is an issue, but not the answer. It's among the list. Anyone else? What's the biggest issue with respirators? It is medical clearance. Yeah. So you have to show proof that you have the pulmonary capacity to even wear one. So that's not being done. And if it's being done initially only by OSHA standards, you have to monitor it. And if someone gains weight by 20 pounds or greater, or loses weight, or cosmetic surgery, or dental, or pregnancy, or whatever it is, or a change of task, blah blah blah, you still have, that would constitute another medical evaluation. So that's being ignored or not being done at all. Oh, it keeps getting better though. I got to fast forward here. This is phenomenal. This company's actually in our neck of the woods here in California. They're in, I believe Santa Fe Springs. Max Air does this. And they have a capper. I know we all know what PAPRs are, right? Powered air purifying respirators. This one's called a controlled air purifying respirator. Everything, all the technology is above the shoulder. So you don't have that invasive tube in the back. So the battery pack, it's all above the shoulder. Pretty cool stuff. It's expensive, but it's nice. You'll see it in healthcare industries, dental in this case. I love it. It's a cool design. It's super cool. And what's cool about these, as I'm sure you know, these are loose fitting respirators, which means that you're exempt from all that stuff with fit testing. Very cool. I can wear one today with my beard. So there are solutions to things, but these cappers are amazing. Cappers. Remember it. Lockout, tag out. Let me see. Good. At least he put a little squiggly under on it to catch my eyes. I guess that's kind of cool. It says keep out. And it says live wires. Cool. That's awesome. So that's his version of a tag for lockout, tag out. Maybe perhaps the lock even doesn't work. This isn't proper lockout, tag out. This is not going to work. Obviously, you got to use standardized locks, tags that warn us who's the authorized user, date, right? Way to contact them. And so this is a lot going on here. An example of good lockout, tag out. Hello. I love this because you know what? The procedure's right in my face. And guess what? It even does a phenomenal job identifying the isolated energy device, which is right here. And oops, what am I doing? Oops, let me go back. And it's gonna tell me it's marked E1. So easy to follow. Guess what? E1 is right here. Tells me what to do, location, method, and even the type of device I should be using. Holy cow! Who wrote this? Let's hire him. Amazing stuff. Love that. Ladders, an issue. This, an issue. Holy cow, Zola. Where'd I even begin? The ladders, the legs are on the table here. Not good. Same location, lower numbers by not much. Here's a cool little ladder system there. Really cool stuff. I like this ladder. You know why? Because the foundation's phenomenal. And also it has handrails. When's the last time you saw a handrail on a ladder? Portable one by that. And then it has a platform. So now you're no longer doing this and twisting at the waist because your ladder's here, but your point of operations here. So now you can walk freely in a 360 little dance on a platform. Whoa. How cool is that? But Eric, it costs too. You know what costs a lot of money is a work comp on back injury claims. I can only assume it's a lot more than this ladder because I think an average cost of a work comp claim is about 30 to 40 grand. I don't think this ladder is that much. Maybe because some little giants are pretty expensive, but yeah, it's not that bad. So why not invest into the technology and ladders? Look, this is phenomenal. Phenomenal ladder. Moving on. We're almost there. HAZCOM. Yeah, this label says West Tech 691, which I believe is a high acid container. They got the name right. That's awesome. They identified the product, but don't touch, it's acid. Yeah, not a GHS compliant label there. So not good. Not good. This is bad. And by the way, recent regulatory updates, they've extended the deadline for us all to be compliant with the GH. I know these regulations have been out for quite some time, and this year would have been the year, the mark where we have to be in compliance. Now they extended it some more because we keep complaining about it. So that's a recent regulatory update on that. Thank you, Corey. Corey says, you're talking too much, 5-minute warning. Okay, cool. It's pretty direct. But look at, here's an OSHA compliant GHS, Global Harmonizing System HAZCOM label. You got to identify all this information. Product identifier is what? There's a product. There's a signal word. Warning. There's a hazard statement. Harmful to swallow. Thank you. I'm not going to drink it. Precautionary statement. This is what happens if you blah, blah. Here's a supplier identification. That's the people that gave it to me. And the pictogram. There goes that pictogram for those for that GHS compliance. This is the proper label. Not that. This. Okay. 5 minutes. This is last one. Number one. I believe, from what I'm assuming, they're above 6 feet. Maybe 7 feet, give or take. They're on a tower crane. They have to be tied down, period. So this is a big issue with fall protection. People are taking risks. Holy cow, I hope this image is fabricated. I hope this is AI. I'm just letting you know, these guys are super high. And I mean elevating wise. They may be high in other regards, but you cannot be climbing a tower crane like this. And this is a better system. You got the universal guardrail system. And on top of that, because fall prevention is always first before fall protection, right? So fall prevention is a guardrail system. And now they're also tethered by a really cool, sophisticated fall arrest system here. They're free to walk around and they're not going to go past the edge because this lanyard is going to restrict them from going past the edge. And I've said enough. I'll leave it at this. I love these. Have you been seeing these lately? These traditional slippery, watch out, wet floor, but now they're banana peels, which I find pretty comical.